Okay, this is Dave at Vinyl Nirvana again. We're on part 2 of replacing the coupling rubbers on a 3009. First part we successfully removed the rubbers, and as I said, I lucked out and really had these come off pretty cleanly. There's not a lot of residue on here. So I think what I'm going to use first is the blade again to see what I can remove from this rod in terms of the adhesive, and then after that I'll try the benzene. So I'm just scraping this along the rod. There's little tiny flakes. You probably can't see it in the camera, but there's little pieces of adhesive flaking off, being caught by the cloth that I'm using here. And I'm just trying to get down to the surface of the metal, which this is accomplishing very well so far. It's scraping right off and falling onto the towel. I do have my safety glasses on. You can't see me, but you wouldn't want one of these flakes to end up in your eye. And you especially want to have the glasses on when you use the benzene on the brush, because that can suddenly fly up. And it's also why I have the surfaces of the turntable clean. So now I'm going to take the blade and clean the inside of the tube here. There is a little bit of residue in there also. Not bad at all though. Compared to my first one, this inner tube is fantastic. It took a long time to clean that out the other day on the first one of these I tried. And nothing I really could have done different. It really broke off that way, and it's what I had to work with. Okay, tube is feeling pretty clean. I'm going to take this small round file and just work that in this tube very gently. Again, I'm always cradling the arm. Okay, just loosening some more of that hardened adhesive before we use the benzene in here. You do need to do the same thing in the tube. Again, I lucked out. This tube is fairly clean, so I'm going to use the file first. Just let it tack some of that leftover rubber. I can see the little pieces of adhesive and small pieces of rubber falling out onto the towel here that's in front of me. Oh, there's a second gasket in here. I think somebody might have replaced this somewhere else along the line. I just found a second one. It's actually in pretty nice shape. Could probably be reused. I'm not going to do that, but that's funny. You probably won't find that in your case. So again, just cleaning this out, getting what I can out of it before we use the benzene to take the last of the residue off. Okay, well, the easier to clean with the benzene is the tube, so the loosened tube, separate tube. So we'll do that first. So I just put a tiny bit on the Q-tip. And protect the surface of your turntable. And then I just ran it inside the tube, similar to this. Not rocket science. And this is so much cleaner than the one I had the other day. I mean, I can feel that the sides are basically almost smooth. So you can see some residue on the Q-tip there. But this really isn't going to be hard. If you are, have your insides riddled with pieces, probably the best thing that I found after I got it off and got the biggest part off was this straight screwdriver. Just putting that in, going around the, like a, clockwork, hitting every part, and that loosened a lot of it up. And then I used the file for the last part to get that stuff out. But this is in really good shape compared to what I tackled the other day. And it's feeling very smooth on the sides, and I think this tube is basically ready to go. The Q-tips that I have, I found too large to fit in the end of the arm, and so that's why I used this brush to do it. And again, this is a Caig brush, C-A-I-G. This you definitely want to have glasses on, because when you go to brush, some of the droplets go flying off of the brush. So I'm going to apply some of the lighter fluid to this brush very lightly, and then insert that in the tube and just let that do its thing. Follow the directions on the lighter fluid thing, you know, that there's some kind of ventilation. Over to my left right now there's 2 windows that are open. I'm running this all around the inside of the tube to loosen that leftover adhesive. And again, I can see some droplets coming off here, so you definitely want to have eyewear. Please don't attempt this without safety glasses on. None of it's hit my lenses yet, but you know, it very easily could happen. Okay, loosening that stuff up, brushing, you know, kind of hard, but not so hard that I'm damaging the bearings at all, just being thorough in how I pass that over there. Again, I found the straight screwdriver to be the best thing to use after this point. You might find the X-Acto knife to be the best thing for you, but this is, again, feeling really good. Not bad at all. The more I look at this, it's appearing to me that someone else did this repair at some point. Whether they did it correctly or incorrectly, I'm not sure. But I can see some glue residue on the metal tube, and I'm going to actually try right now to get that off of that tube, so it's a little bit cleaner look. You may or may not have that on yours as you tackle it. Again, I can't tell, you know, from how you're looking at this how much pressure you think I'm using on this, but it's really not much pressure at all. I'm letting the benzene and the bristles of the brush do the work here. I'm not pushing down extra hard on this, just trying to protect the bearings. And I have no idea what kind of adhesive this person used on this previously. It's doesn't seem to be, the benzene does not seem to be having a big effect on what's on this surface. Might even be tape, the way it is, so maybe it's just thick because they tried to do that. I'm going to try the, I don't want to scratch the arm tube, but I'm going to very lightly fleck this with the X-Acto knife and see. Oh, okay, good. The X-Acto knife is removing the adhesive. I'm going in the direction of the tube very, very gently so I don't scratch the tube and make it look worse than having the adhesive on it. So barely, barely, barely touching it. Just removing some of this residue. And I think when I go to use the benzene again in a second, it's going to take care of the rest of it. Okay, well, my internal clock is telling me I'm nearing the end of the second part. I use the, yeah, now the adhesive's coming off because I've flecked it with the razor. Okay, so I'm going to sign off for part 2, and when we come back for part 3, we're going to be applying the next part. I don't think I cleaned this tube yet with benzene. Let me do this really quick. This rod that everything attaches on. So this is the last part of it if you haven't done this. I know I removed some of it mechanically, now I'm removing it with the benzene. Just rubbing it on that. Okay, well I'm going to sign off, just getting this tube nice and clean and down to the metal. And we'll be back for part 3 where we're going to install everything over again.